Welcome back. It's been a long time.
What's up?
It's been a minute,
for the
dude.
listeners, it feels like nothing, I guess. But Matt and I have been gone for, 3 weeks?
3 weeks
total?
now, yeah.
I went home, then I came back, then Matt left.
Did a little road trip.
Yeah, we've been vacationing a little bit. So those last episodes were all stacked up. Bet you didn't notice, except the last one sucked.
1, 2, 3, go!
I think that it's very interesting to do something like this. And when we do episodes like that, or do have long moments where we're just kicking it like two people in their 20s, I kind of have to feel like, because when you hear high schoolers talk or middle schoolers talk when you're in your mid-20s, you're like, man, I used to talk like that. So you don't diss them. You're not like coming at them or making fun of them. You're just like, you're not very good at talking yet. But that has to mean that 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds feel the exact same way about us because they've been around the block so much. They're great speaker. In all cases. I've definitely spoken to people much older than me that are not good at speaking. But I've spoken to many people much older than me, people that I'm close to much older than me, people that I'm not so close to much older than me, that are great speakers because they've had so much time to reflect on their thoughts and how their brain works.
Yeah.
And they articulate themselves better with that extended vocabulary, extended diction, extended capability to converse with other human beings.
It's kind of like wisdom versus intelligence.
Do you think one weighs more than the other?
I mean, I guess the cooler thing is like, wisdom's like, that's what you gain over time and through experience and through life, and you find the truths or whatever. And intelligence is just like, I read a lot of books and I went to Harvard. But I will also say, I don't believe that's completely true. I think the curve, it's like exponential until you reach adulthood. I think once you reach maybe let's be conservative here, 25. You could say 18, but I think it's probably more like 25. It starts to plateau a little bit, or at least it's a slower incline. That's what I'm saying. The curve rounds off a little bit because the difference between a 35-year-old and a 45-year-old isn't as much as a 5-year-old and a 15-year-old, right?
True. Yeah.
So it definitely rounds off. And a 70-year-old is going to be more wise than a 30-year-old, but it's not as
now that's the question though. Is it going to be wise for a certain time? Is it going to be wise that's a wisdom that's only good for a certain time, or a wisdom that is kind of cross generational in the sense that when new world technologies and world things develop and systems change and there's just new ways of doing things, is that wisdom going to hold as much?
Will they become outdated? Is that what you're saying?
Well, can wisdom be outdated, or because I'm actually at the point in my life where I'm reverting back to really old stuff to try and find myself and my spirituality in the way that I think personally.
Yeah,
I'm reverting back to really old things that I think a lot of human beings have thought about, but certain wisdoms maybe don't apply as well in the modern era.
In the truth, if we're the definition of wisdom, I guess the answer there is no, because wisdom would be these kind of universal truths or lessons that kind of always remain true, kind of like parables in the Bible or something like that, where it's treat your neighbor like yourself, stuff like that. It's very vague. It works in a lot of contexts and can be adapted to today's times. Philosophers write like that. Lawmakers write like that. It's open for interpretation to the current status.
Yeah.
But just like you see law and philosophy, other outside things can mess it up. It's the founding fathers didn't think we'd have AR-15s and shit like that.
Straight up. So
they do their best to have a universal truth that will always work. But since you can't see the future, you're right. Some things don't keep up. Mm-hmm. You see that's the old joke. It's it's just like an old racist guy or something like that, or
can't teach an old dog.
Or they don't believe in women's rights because they're 90 years old or something like that. Yeah. The thing is, there's old people who do and who adjust. So I don't think it's actually there is a 90-year-old person who is totally racist, sexist, everything, and there's also a 90-year-old person who's, I guess, quote unquote woke. Yeah. You can adjust your wisdom with the times as well.
You can. I'm thinking wisdom more in the sense too of, there are different levels of wisdom, because I think I was going
we have to define it here. So let's say wisdom's the universal truths.
What's the connotation of wisdom in this conversation?
Right? is I think that's, let's call it the more, I don't know if this is what it is, but this is how we'll use it, is the universal truth, the philosopher style writings and stuff that will remain true no matter in what context or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Now, their opinions and their takes and their thoughts on other things that are like current events or current issues, that's a different thing. So a wisdom one could be like, hey kid, follow your dreams, right? It's not like, hey kid, don't be gay. Like, that's not wisdom. Like, that's just like his opinion. Wisdom is more like, hey man, I've seen a lot of really rough things. You know, you should do this in life. It's very general.
I've seen so many negative outcomes from this.
Yeah, I've learned
certain
these
thing.
lessons through life, and I want you to not have to learn them the hard way like I did.
Yeah.
Or even it got passed down to you. A lot of people have to learn stuff the hard way, though.
Yeah.
But I think older people giving wisdom to younger people is trying to avoid that. It's like, hey, take this one bit. Please just listen to me.
And then does
you'll save
everybody
yourself
think
some
they're
harm.
wise when they get to a certain point, though? So this is another
Also an
thing
issue.
where it's just sometimes you're going to either have to take the person's word for it or not.
Yeah, so like one person's wisdom would be follow your dreams. Another person would be don't follow your dreams. Those aren't real. Make some fucking money and live a good life. I mean, I've heard comedians even say following your dreams is the stupidest thing you could tell someone. And I've also heard people say it's the number one thing you could tell someone. It almost is the storybook. You know, a ton of movies are about following your dreams, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I've also heard a ton of people say
Now,
don't.
do those try and sculpt the dreams for you, though? This is where we get deep. If we're going one deeper, son. Because do those perpetuate certain things about certain dreams? The American dream, the romantic dream, you know, when these two perfect stories, are they trying to create something in our heads? You know, I think, you know what I mean? Are they
Some
trying to
Inception
push?
shit.
Not some Inception shit. No, not really
A
Inception.
dream within a dream,
Not a
one
dream-
deeper.
No.
I
Not
know-
really
I
a
know
dream
what you
within
mean.
a dream.
I know, I'm joking. You're saying they're trying to establish to you what your dreams should
be.
They're telling you what your dreams should be.
Yeah.
You want to have the white picket fence and a house and
Yeah.
the neighbors.
Or even if
and-
you're searching fame, you want the excessive material wealth. You want all the girls or guys or whoever
Sure.
your sexual preference is. You get all of them because you're rich and famous. And
Yeah.
I think that there's a certain level of dictation of what we consider dreams to be. And I think a lot of the times we don't necessarily come up with that on our own, because I think if we came up with it on our own a lot more of us would be happier with what we were doing.
True. I think a lot of people aspire to be things they don't actually want to be.
Yeah.
Or be in positions they don't want
I
to.
bet there are motherfuckers born today that looked at a clock and are like, I could make a sick one of those, but who the fuck needs a clockmaker nowadays?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it that's tough is, like you're saying, someone does tell you what is like a good way to live or something like that. People don't sit and think like, what would make me happy? But a lot of times it's because they're clouded by traumas or their past or their current life, where they think this is the way out. Like a lot of people who get famous end up being unhappy because they realize this isn't what they wanted.
Yeah.
Like someone who maybe gets into this because their dad never thought they could do it, and they realize like, oh, I didn't really want this for myself. I was just being vengeful or something like that. I don't know. Like Michael Jackson, for example, right? Michael Jackson was probably not a happy person because he had such a fucked up childhood because his dad told him, you're going to have to be this rich and famous pop star and all this. And he did it to, I guess, make his dad happy, but it wasn't his dream.
Yeah.
You know? And then he obviously was very fucked up, and regardless of what he did or didn't do, the man was fucked up and did some weird shit. So
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it's like, if you,
that's what I think people don't talk about enough. This would be a very controversial statement, but yeah, he did have a fucked up childhood, and I don't know what that does to a person's sense of because it's undeniable he did some weird ass shit. Whether he did it to the extent that people say he did, like if it's as weird and as illegal and fucked up as people are saying, I don't know. Either way, he's kind of an odd character.
yeah.
Because this dream got pushed on him in a very abusive way.
So,
But I'm not talking about blunt, like you have to do this. This is my dream, so you have to do it. I'm talking about way more subliminal and way more subtle
it's even
of
like
dream
that.
creation.
The subtle part of that is that the reason why people think that he spent all these times with those kids is because he lost that part of his childhood.
Yeah.
That's what he really wanted at that time, and he never got it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I had to become a pop star. The sad part is that his dad made him do this instead of his real dream, which was just play with kids and get on the play structure and stuff like that. And because of that, later in life, he tried to recreate those moments. And you can't do that when you're 40 years old.
No.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
I kind of see what you're saying. Like, I don't know exactly, but he got fucked up because of his upbringing and the trauma he had.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, you kind of feel bad for him as well.
It wouldn't excuse it if the extremities were true. If the extreme situations described by certain individuals.
Yes. Let's say they're true.
Let's say yes. Okay.
Just for the matter of conversation.
Gotcha. Right? Okay.
I'd hate to be the one to say yes or no, because who the fuck knows, really?
Okay. Yeah.
Seems like they're true. Let's go what they are. It's obviously, the thing is, if you have anything that happened to you in your past or anything, once you become an adult, it's your job to fix that and get over it and become a normal.
Is it? Do you think he was so mentally traumatized, even he wanted to exert some effort towards fixing it?
I don't
he
think
couldn't do
anyone
it
is too far gone, but
at all.
No, but it might be damn near impossible if you don't have the right people around you and you're rich and famous and no one can tell you no.
Or the right drugs. Didn't he die on prescription overdose too? Was he trying to keep himself in check? Maybe.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Or was he trying to keep the plastic surgery up, or
or was addicted to drugs? There's a million things. If you're unhappy, right, you do a lot of things. I guess what I'm saying is, I remember in college meeting people and they would do certain things or maybe be a little racist or something like that, and people go, it's like, oh, it's just where he's from. Like he was just raised like that. Mm-hmm. And it was like, so I'm just supposed to forgive him? Mm-hmm. Like, and I remember saying to someone, like my freshman year of college, this one girl would always say that about her friends. She had a group of friends who were all Asian and only knew Asian people their whole lives. Mm-hmm. And so they were pretty insensitive when it came to anyone else. And she was like, oh, it's just where they're from. They don't know. It's how they were raised. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then it happened sophomore year of college and junior year of college. I went to one of the most diverse universities in the country.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I get it in the beginning a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'll give you not a pass, but like, I understand. But now you're 22. You're an adult now. If you haven't figured it out by now, that's on you. That's not how you were raised. Like, once you become an adult, after a few years of adulthood, some people takes longer or shorter than others. You can't put the blame entirely on the situations as they were a kid. You could put a lot, but everyone is then their own person after that. If you had the most fucked up life, like, that's awful, and it will fuck you up. But that means, okay, I got to put the work in so I can fix it.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It's tough, yeah. It's so much easier said than done.
It's so much easier if you just had a great childhood and shit wasn't like that.
Grew up in a nice place and your parents didn't exert anything on you.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a million things. Like, it could be your parents. It could be the school you went to.
I was just thinking for Michael Jackson's case, it was his dad, right?
Yeah, totally. And fame.
Yeah.
And the paparazzi and the media. Like, there's a lot of things that played into it.
A lot of factors that go along with that.
Yeah.
Just imagine that psyche. Imagine being from such a young age. I got fucking out of pocket when I didn't get the candy I wanted. Imagine being given the world at that age and then trying to grow up like a regular person.
And that's why most people are like, all child stars end up fucked up.
Not all of them, though. Some of them managed to do it. Some of them, actually, I'd say a decent amount managed to do it well.
More recently, yes. It's changed because people have seen how it went bad so many times.
Yeah.
It's slowly getting better, but also it's how we perceive them as, oh, they're fucked up. But
all the Harry Potter kids turned out great. They were some of the most famous motherfuckers in the world.
Daniel Radcliff had a bad time for a while.
Oh, he did?
Yes, dude. Really, he did.
Interesting. See, I just didn't know much about his personal life. I just thought his career was still as successful as it was from the Harry Potter.
See, that's exactly the issue. Is we're looking at their career.
That's my perception of his success. Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe he's not a happy person. We don't know if they're happy people or not.
True. Entirely true. We have no idea. Again, it's not like we have lunch with them on Tuesdays.
Exactly. And so I think it's just that we've started to realize that, like, a lot of these kids are getting fucked up and we perceive it as failure, right? But maybe they don't feel that way. Mm-hmm. Maybe Britney Spears shaving her head was the best moment of her life. She finally felt free.
Felt like,
I bet she did, dude.
Yeah,
and
apparently I haven't watched the documentary yet, but apparently she went through her fair share of fucked up shit as well along the whole journey.
Essentially, what's up with her now? I didn't watch the movie, but I had heard about this a couple years ago. But pretty much when she had her, I guess, mental break or whatever.
Yeah.
Her dad became like her guardian almost over the age of 18. They said she couldn't take care and make decisions for herself. So her dad became that person and like essentially kind of like owns and kind of like dictates a lot of her life.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah. I might be wrong about this. It could just be some free Britney conspiracy, but
doesn't sound like it.
Britney
That would not surprise me in the music industry though, just in general.
Yeah, because that makes
and
money.
how courts work.
I want to quit, and he's like, no, and she has to.
And how the courts work with music in general, and how people decide with no inside knowledge of the industry, and what type of things people had to go through maybe to get record deals to get into that position. And again, the mentality of being so young and being a national icon has to do something to somebody. Like,
it does.
Leave Britney alone, man.
Leave Britney alone.
That guy was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Well, he was 13 years ahead of his time.
But it's because he's seen it with so many people, like a Macaulay Culkin, or there's so many child stars who it didn't work out for. I think it's funny now, though. One thing I do like is a lot of these child stars, they came from pretty normal backgrounds. They weren't necessarily like broke before or something like that. But then they just became famous as a very young age, and then they like blew up. They were normal kids, and then they became fucked up. Recently, we've made the switch where we take fucked up kids, and then they get famous. Bad Baby, the Catch Me Outside girl.
Yeah.
It's like the most fucked up kid, right? She went on Dr. Phil because her mom, I can't take her anymore. Now she's made her mom millions of fucking dollars. Is that a success story? It's like the flip. It's the other way around. You see it a lot with these like...
And you have to keep the character up for a certain amount of time, though, if you want to keep the revenue stream going.
Sure,
it's like Lil Pump. When I see Lil Pump and his stories and stuff,
right?
I wonder, has he delved too deep into his character and that's him now? Or is he really good about just posting the character consistently?
Sure, it could be a bit of both. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, with Lil Pump, 15-year-old, addicted to Xanax, toting guns, or Lil Pump now, who, he has a huge blown-up ego, and now he's a bit of a character of himself, but he's financially stable, he's able to take care of his family and his friends.
If he spends it well.
Right? Is that better? I think that's a closer decision than Britney Spears, let's say. So I'm just a regular kid to now fucked up superstar. I had a fucked up childhood, and now at least I have money and other means around me, you know? We've taken a lot of these young, a lot of times rappers, stars, don't come from the best place, but now I've kind of flipped it around to at least monetizing it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily a positive, but it seems better than the other way.
Yeah.
Like, I like Bad Baby's story better than Britney Spears' story.
It's more interesting for sure.
It seems like she's in a better place than Britney is now.
Yeah.
She seems happy.
I don't think it would be any fault of Britney Spears' though.
No,
that she got to the place that she got. That's the crazy part.
Yes, of course.
There had to be imagine being that young and a bunch of adults telling you, "Hey, kid, you want to be famous? Because you're gonna be."
Yeah, but that's
fuck yeah.
That's what happened to Bad Baby too.
Yeah,
same thing. It's just like
it was less corporate with her for sure.
Oh no, she's
it was super corporate.
So she signed to a label, music label,
like a big label.
Yeah, big label. I think she's on Republic. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Huge label. And they write all of her lyrics, do all of her videos. She doesn't do anything. She shows up, she raps, she goes home, she shoots the video. They pick what clothes she wears every day. She should always wear the same white tank top because it's marketable to be like a character, like a cartoon character that always wears the same clothes. She wore the same clothes, same hair, same style, everything. It was all put together as one of the best marketing ploys I've ever seen.
Still, but at what point does that person break and just completely get lost?
But this is what I'm saying. Before, she was a fucked up kid who's getting sent away to rehab facilities in Utah.
Yeah, so is it better? Yeah, probably. It's probably better. It's probably better.
And her are on better terms. She makes a lot of money, which is not everything, but it's a plus, right? And now she can afford to get real help. And can now choose to live whatever life she wants at this point.
Yeah.
I think that's a success story.
Damn near is. What is it about human beings that makes us so obsessed with talking about other human beings all the fucking time?
we say this all the time. You'll tell me like something about someone, and I just
Yeah.
go like, we don't fucking know that. Like, we
Exactly.
don't know anything about any of these celebrities or
Not even just
musicians.
celebrities, because even
Anyone.
drama circles become
Yeah.
people you know, or social circles. You talk about people you know.
Gossip.
We're constantly, a lot of the conversation revolves around shit other people are doing, or other people are saying, or what other people have done
Yeah,
or said.
I agree. I do that all the time. Everyone
I do
does.
too. What? Why? Why are we
It's
so
fun
drawn?
because it's interesting. It's weird, but it's because like it's the same reason like we'd watch a movie that's like dramatic, but it's like this is realer. This is real life, and it's like shocking and jarring. And people also really enjoy learning about other people, I think. And
It's interesting to hear a story that's not your own.
yeah, and it either you feel validated, and you go, okay, I'm not that crazy. Fuck, they did that too, but they got caught for it, right? Or the opposite, you go, oh, that bitch is crazy. I was right. I'm glad I'm not like that.
Yeah.
It helps you kind of gauge yourself a little bit, but it just like we should do it more up front. It shouldn't be behind people's backs, I guess. But the issue is kind of hard to get close to people, so sometimes you kind of have to hear it through the grapevine to almost get to know people.
Yeah.
No, it's very weird. The
It is
issue is that's
strange.
not good because when it goes through the grapevine, it gets twisted and distorted.
Always.
So you're not actually getting to know anyone that way. But I think we do that even amongst friends. Like if, one friend tells me something and I tell it to you, even though he didn't tell you directly, I know he would feel okay telling you, and I'm just essentially relaying the message. Sometimes. Sometimes that's not necessarily bad. She's like, oh, you just didn't directly hear it from them. Right? Like,
do you think that it draws us to fiction. It draws us to these idealistic stories. So what type of stories
What do
do
you
we
mean?
get drawn to?
what do you mean? Like we want to put
Okay,
these
so
in
we
a
want to
box?
learn a lot about other people, right?
Sure.
That's what you were
We want to
getting
know
at.
what's going on in other people's lives. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So now imagine a written person who has an interesting ass life because it's written to be very interesting.
Oh, like a character in a book.
characters.
Okay.
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
Do you think characters perpetuate what the average person wants to be?
Oh yeah.
So what? So how do we get past that point?
Dude, don't even get me started. Rom-coms and shit like that.
Oh my God, it's so
Kill
fucked.
me.
They kill me.
'Cause
They
now I'm like-
fucking kill me.
I'll never forget in high school.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And even like Twitter and online shit, like my
Yeah.
boyfriend got me this. Like people get in these wormholes
Oh,
of like
yeah.
posting what them and their boyfriend or girlfriend are doing, and it's just like this is a private thing between you two. Truly, no one else cares. It shouldn't.
Nor
be-
should care.
Yes, it should just be about you guys. Why do you feel the need to flex it? Are you doing it just for that, for the Twitter post? Like it's very weird to me.
Or
But
to get reaffirmed that you're living a Hollywood dream scenario.
right, but it's all fake for the most part. I remember in high school being like, "Why the fuck do I have to do a promposal? Why can't I just ask a girl to prom?" Like, no, like she'll be mad because everyone else gets a promposal and you don't. Like, I don't want to do that. I remember I had a girl.
Yeah.
The girl I was gonna ask, her best friend did the whole promposal. And I just showed up
Nice.
because I told her. Like she told me like you have to do one, and I'm like I don't want to. Like it's just not something. I'm not a big public showy guy like that.
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, oh, but she'll be sad if she doesn't get one and stuff. I'm like, okay, I get that. You want to help me with it then? Because like I don't know how to do this right. Even like if I were to do it, it would just suck, and she'd also be sad. So she did the whole thing, and the girl was it worked because of it.
Yeah.
I was like, why do I have to do that? Why do I have to do this crazy flash mob proposal thing or whatever it is?
And everybody wants shit like that to be perfect, but the story up to it never is going to be perfect. Especially, yeah, especially with like the rom-com,
the romance,
the
and
romance
the
drama.
stuff.
Life doesn't play out that way.
It doesn't work.
But I
that
feel
way.
like deep down, all of us want it to at a certain point.
yeah, but people.
There's no one that doesn't crave it to a certain
But
extent.
we create these standards of romance and what a relationship's supposed to be,
Yeah.
and these like social norms, where now people are starting to break it and they look as like crazy when it's like, oh, my relationship doesn't look the same way as yours does in the movies.
Yeah.
I just hate people who are like, they base off movie interactions as what they should do in real life, and of course we do it too. I want to kind of be objective here. What would be the guy version of like a romance movie? Maybe like a comedy film, like a corny, raunchy
the thing
comedy.
is every movie has a love interest. Every single one. When's the
True.
last time you've read a story without the character having a love interest? When's the last time you read a book about a loner that has nobody he's tapping or she's tapping?
Hatchet.
Hatchet's Fair. It's about a 12-year-old boy who gets lost in the woods. That's a very introspective
I read
book.
that book
I'll
when
give
I
you
was
that
in,
one.
I was in the 5th grade when I read that. That's
Yeah.
how long ago it was.
Yeah, that's a while.
I totally get it, but I'm just trying to think like I think romance movies goes for guys and girls too.
It
But I
does.
think a lot of
because
girls
I
take
also
them.
romance TV or sitcoms where it works out for the guy in the long run. I would be lying if I said I didn't have some dream Hollywood scenario multiple times in my life with people that I've met and people that I've tried to pursue and come up with this kind of weird thing in my head where I have this perfect ending, this perfect story playing out, and everything falls into place.
This is how it's
and
supposed to look.
We're happily in love and everything's cute. It's picture worthy all the time.
Yeah.
And it really gets dangerous when
very dangerous, I
when real life sets in again.
Yeah.
But so many of us are susceptible to it, and I feel like sometimes people are good about growing out of it at a certain point in time, but I also feel like at a certain point we're all not. We're all fixated on the dream of you don't want to die alone. You don't want to, and not saying that you do, because
But maybe you
it
do.
seems like the likely scenario is right. If I chose to, fuck it, I don't need the relationship. I'm good on my own.
Yeah. Let's say you never wanted to get married.
never,
And never even wanted to date.
yeah,
People would think, oh man, poor guy. He never got married.
yeah.
And you could be happy as fuck. But because of
You could
the
be, or
standard
you could
is-
fall into it where like all your friends are then getting married, all going with the norm, and then you don't have anybody because they're spending time with their respective spouses or
True.
things like
True.
that. There are real
you
world
have-
consequences to trying to make decisions like that.
Pretty much you have to conform at a point is what you're saying to kind of keep up.
It's possible because
So-
then you might initially think in your 30s, well, I've got all my boys, I've got my friends, I've even
Yeah.
got my female friends, but then all of them are going to go off and live their Hollywood dream, and then you're like, well, I said fuck all that, and now I'm really alone.
Yeah.
Now I'm
True.
lonely.
You have to keep up. So
I don't want to be a lonely person.
do these social norms keep us together in that way? Does it create
they?
a
Is it-
standard trail of life to follow
And
so
that's
that we
why you
all
have to
follow
get into
together?
it, so it's just kind of we all feel like we're
I
on a
think
solid
it's-
page.
I think it's dirty and I don't like it, but at the same time, it kind of works.
but what's the other option?
That's what I'm saying. The other option is you do exactly whatever the fuck you want and you're so confident in it that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who works and interacts with other people in your life, it can't have that way because you can't control them. If you were truly happy, I don't need anyone, I just want to travel the world by myself and go around, you could really do that.
Yeah.
But you would lose your friends and your family and stuff like that because their lives are on the trajectory. And they're all different trajectories, but these social norms keep them somewhat in line.
And if you don't have a family at a certain point, if you don't have a family yourself, if you don't create the family model, your family's going to die out.
Yep.
Eventually.
It's over.
Above you. Or you're going to go first, whichever one happens. But
Sure.
that's also not a great thought.
Yeah.
But I'm also someone who doesn't want kids. It's a weird thing. I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Well, let's bring it back to the kind of the standards that are set, right?
Yeah.
So you're
have
right.
a family.
Have a family, have 2 kids, have the house.
Own
or
a
whatever.
house. Yeah.
But also the romance part is like
It
you
stays
find-
spicy.
you
There was some
find your
drama
one
that you
true
overcame.
love, right? And like they do this crazy action for you to know it's their one true love.
Yeah.
I think that's so funny when everyone's like, I don't actually know what I believe in this, but let me just kind of tap in.
I don't either. I think we're figuring it out.
But yeah, but like the idea, do you think you have one person in the world for you or like a fuck ton?
A fuck ton.
Almost every guy I ask, I don't know if this is a girl or guy thing, it's obviously not, but every guy I've talked to, damn near actually everyone I've talked to thinks there's a ton.
It has to be.
But I've heard from some other people that it's like, no, there's my one soulmate out there and I have to find them because that's what it said in the notebook.
On the planet of 7 billion people.
Right?
Disagree.
Disagree.
There's a lot of cool
hard
people out
disagree.
there. There's a lot of... I have what I would consider soulmate level relationships that aren't sexual in my life with both males and females, where I vibe with
special
somebody
people
on
in your life.
very, very special people.
Yeah.
And I think that our souls, quote unquote, whatever
Yeah.
the definition of a soul is, a soulmate, I think that I vibe with a great many people on that level, and
Yeah.
it never needs to get romantic or sexual.
I think that's a separate thing. I'm
Okay,
talking about
okay.
who is your one true love soulmate, I'm a marry you partner, like how it is in the movies.
Yeah,
But then-
usually with me personally, yes.
That's how it looks like. I'm looking for the one. Who's the one, right?
Yeah, straight
But
up.
then you look at it,
I like the concept of
and people get
monogamy.
married 4 or 5 times, or
Yeah.
people have long, loving relationships, and the person dies, and they get remarried and are still happy. Does
Yeah.
that disprove it, right? Like, let's say a couple who's together for 40 years, and the husband dies, and the wife, maybe
Doesn't want
sits
to
on
spend their
it.
final days alone.
Yeah, she gets remarried. Does that mean only one of them is the true love, and the other guy's just like some scum backup guy? Like, no, it's like they're just both people that she loved to share her life with at different points as well.
It's very interesting.
It's disrespectful to people like that to say there's only one. So it's like, if I die, you can't be with anyone else because I was the one. And some people do think that way. They won't ever date anyone
Definitely.
again. But I think it's kind of unhealthy almost.
I think
If you
so
were
too.
In that scenario, you
I
need to move
I
on.
would agree with
You
that.
need to kind of move forward. Maybe you don't, but
But then again, I'm still, if I'm being entirely honest, I'm still attracted to the idea of finding someone who I'm like, this is my person.
yeah, the one.
That's my person.
It's cool. It's
my favorite
storybook.
human being. That's my favorite human being I've ever met.
Yeah.
And no other person is gonna ever be able to topple that.
But then there's also people who are like, I remember you told me one of your friends was like, and you guys are all going to be at my 4th bachelor party.
Yeah.
Like, they know they're going to go through it. Like,
Yeah.
they know they're not going to, because they don't believe in a one, like, this is the
Yeah.
girl for me right now. And this
Yeah.
is the girl for me then. And then.
Mhm.
I bet it was a joke.
Or person, because it's whatever you're into. Is there a difference between? Because there's so many things involved usually in partner choosing. There's sexual attraction, personal attraction. Do you think they're a good person? Do you think you'd have fun with them? Just in general, there's like a lot of things
a
that I think goes
a million things.
they go into it. So who starts writing that script? You know what I mean? Because I feel like it
Who
applies
decides what's important or not?
Yeah. Is it the person themselves,
Yeah.
or is it going to be the influence of whatever
Ooh.
mass romance culture is?
That's actually pretty big. I think there's maybe 3 options. It's like what the media and movies and TV tells you.
Uh-huh.
It's what the people in your life around you tell you.
True.
And it's what you think.
Yeah.
I know so many people who go, that guy would be great for you.
Uh-huh.
Or, ooh, I don't like him. And people, girls and guys, and everyone in between,
Uh-huh.
will listen to that.
Yeah.
And take that and not trust their own self.
Yeah.
Or they'll look for the movie. Oh, I want the guy with rock hard abs and fucking looks like this or blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
Or acts like this. But very rarely, I think, do people just go like, wow, this person really makes me happy
Mm-hmm.
because of blank, blank, blank. And maybe they don't have these ideal
Mhm.
on paper perfect things, but like it works out. But
then there's a certain extent too where honestly, if you're not doing any of it,
what do you mean?
then if you're completely a person who doesn't engage with anything that's popular in romantic
You only
mainstream
listen
culture,
to your internal.
you only listen to your internal, the other person may start to question, do they love me? Are they actually in this? And sure, if your
Yeah.
communication is next
Yeah.
level and good,
Because if you don't,
then you could probably work past it. But a lot of the times, especially in earlier phases, your communication is not going to be great with the other person.
I think that's a key part right there. I think the initial steps, it kind of goes step by step. You first meet someone, it's almost off the TV media level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm attracted to this person on their looks. They're doing whatever first things, right? Like, oh, he opened the
Or-
door for me.
Yeah,
he
like
bought me flowers. Like
a
the
Hollywood
very
scenario where no way that she just grabbed the Sublime record, 40
Yes.
ounces to free
Oh,
them
it's a
off the
sign,
shelf.
right?
That's a sign. That's my girl in
Right.
in my personal case. That's
Yeah.
my girl. Like that'd be
Women
crazy.
out there, if you see Matt, just carry around that fucking record, and you got yourself a good night.
Legend Bob Marley, Man on the Moon, someone who can match the sadness. One who wouldn't be scared away by the Man on the Moon trilogy poster records on the wall.
I hope I get so much like Cuddy fan hate for this. That'd be great.
It's okay,
Well,
because I'm a
so
hardcore Cuddy fanboy.
I think
so.
it starts out with those first kind of basic things.
Yeah.
And that's almost when we're doing like they call it peacocking or stuff like that,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're kind of doing it for show. You built these things. I dress this way. I got this buff so that women like this find me attractive because we think that's the ideal.
Try and play into certain demographics almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the next step is like their friends and people around them might approve. And then the final step, if they really love you for you and all your little things, then maybe you get married. I think the first step is the very dangerous part. But I think the way to do it now is because it used to be back in the day, there was only one type of, this is what a good person looks like. It was the stereotypical like white model. Like that's what hot is. Now it's changing. It's also changed. It used to be good to look like this. Now it's good to look
As
like
it
this.
will. It's just going to constantly change.
Totally change. One of the craziest ones for me is the eyelids with Asian people have like a double eyelid versus a single eyelid, a monolid. A monolid.
I think you've mentioned this before.
Yeah, and it used to be a surgery that a lot of people would get in Asia to get a double eyelid, which is like what white people have. But now that monolids are more rare, it's actually the more attractive trait because it's like a different thing. It's just, my point is that it changes over time.
Your point is human beings are fucking psychotic.
Yes, what is
We're
considered
fucking
hot.
crazy.
What people think everyone considers hot or sexy changes. So truly, you should just have your own preferences that are completely not. And I actually think girls are much better than this than guys. Girls typically have what they like. Girls might like a fat dad bod. I've had girls tell me, I like guys with mullets and like pedo mustaches, right?
Yeah.
Most guys kind of like the same stuff. Guys are less, we kind of follow the trends. We've been told big butt, hot, or whatever it is for so long, that's what it is. We're not as,
And it is
we're very basic.
There are actually some really significant studies too as to what the macho man model became over time and how it hasn't really deviated all that much throughout all of history.
True.
Throughout all of history.
The quote unquote alpha male.
Yeah.
But the thing is, women now, or anyone, people aren't just attracted to that, is guess what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying, the current,
And we're all becoming more open to the fact that
There's
maybe
different
I
options.
just like people, maybe I'm bisexual, maybe I'm
it's just, yes, but I'm thinking just like, maybe I'm attracted to fat people. Maybe skinny isn't beautiful to me.
Yeah.
Right? Something as simple as that. The dad bod craze is essentially that.
yeah.
Right? Where it's like, and I've talked to girls who are like, I don't like a guy who's like super jacked. I don't want him to have abs. Like, I don't want him to look like, that's disgusting to me.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
But for guys, it's like caveman, like, hoo, big boobs. Yes. Ha, ha. Like, we're so basic at that. Where a girl can be like, actually, no, I don't like that. And I think some guys do, right? But I just, from what I hear,
I try.
it's not like that.
Yeah, I do.
Like,
really
I don't know
try, 'cause
where I
wanna
would
find
deviate.
a person. I don't know where.
Like, if you had to,
I
we're
don't
talking,
think-
we're talking just looks here. We're talking just on that initial appearance, like what you're attracted to. What gets you?
But we're talking about but I want to leave more things on the table for initial impression of
True.
whatever person
True.
you're interested in. Because
That's what I'm saying.
sometimes
This is the
there are
first
small
thing.
things. The initial things can click, like I said, where it's something as simple as that great scene in 500 Days of Summer when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in the elevator and he's listening to the Smiths.
Yes.
And
Oh
she
my
starts singing along with it.
It's like a
and
meme.
Also, Zooey Deschanel's really attractive. I think. I've always thought
Sure.
so. But
Yeah, me too.
right, it's just like indie hipster girl like vibe that
So maybe we aren't so douchey, right? She doesn't have like, it's just the bangs or something.
she's great. Love you, Zoe.
But I guess what I'm saying is like,
Yeah.
what's that get your foot in the door? Typically,
Yeah.
it's looks first. Guys focus more on looks, but a lot of girls I know would be like, oh, he could look like whatever, but he's got to be funny, or he's got to have other good traits. So I agree. Like, there's more than just the looks.
I think
as well.
it is. I also think at our core, like me personally in my brain, when I think as a male and I talk to my female friends or females in my life, I genuinely reflect honestly about it and always come to the conclusion that I am simpler than 99% of the females.
And I have no
I have a
clue what they
simpler
want
I
or
have
what
a
they think.
simpler brain. I have a simpler
That's
mind.
what I'm saying. Ooga ooga. Like, we're just fucking so simple.
And I try to admit, I'm not trying to even roast myself too much when I say it. I just know, even for that reason, too, I'm dumb as fuck when it comes to a lot of stuff. And you're right. I think a lot of us kind of are.
We all are. But it's because of those outside influence, like we talked about, like movies and TV. And growing
Yeah.
up as a guy, especially if you were in the kind of
We're starting to
macho
become more
man
conscious of
lifestyle.
it.
Yeah.
We're starting to, but it's surprisingly
we grew up where it's
widespread
like, yo,
still.
look at this hot girl, bro. Oh yeah, she's so hot. Like shit like
yeah.
that. Where like that's not all that matters
Yeah.
at all.
Well, it's interesting too because I don't know. I can't say this for certain. It's actually pretty rare that I talk to females in my life that I become most open with and most introspective and trying to talk about life in general with, or people that I'm interested in. So I've really only had this conversation with females like that, where I'm in a relationship with them or pursuing a relationship with them, but not a lot of girls that I speak with personally. And again, this is personal, and I know the number is far more out there, but maybe even later in life, that they definitely don't dabble with pornography as early as young men do.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I could
agree.
be wrong.
That has an effect on us massively.
And I haven't found, even girls that I know that watch porn and are like, yeah, I definitely like porn,
dude,
went to it later.
Yeah, you're 100%
went to it
right.
way later. I started.
Boys are exposed to it
10?
very, very early on, and I think it's actually one of the worst things plaguing this country.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous. It like fucks up kids mentally really bad.
Hardcore.
It causes them having intimacy issues when they get older, like massively.
Yeah.
I quit porn for over a year, and now I rarely watch, but dude, like that was one of the best decisions I ever made.
It's
like
hard, man.
Everything just gets better.
Yeah.
Like it's wild how, and it's like some of the stuff obviously will still affect me forever. It's just like you just value having an actual person there, and like somebody, like I don't, everything becomes more weight to it because there's not another option. I can't. Oh, I'm just gonna jerk off to porn. But I think that's a really true one, and like that.
And
also,
what causes that? Because I don't. And again, this is just the people. This is just the females that I've gotten to an intimate
why they
enough
get to it
level
later?
with. Yeah, I could be
Like-
totally wrong though. I mean, they're
No,
probably
that's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's also the culture though of men, and we had older brothers who showed us this stuff, and this is cool.
Or your
And
friends
it's
did.
instant happiness for us because this is a good feeling to do this. I think girls feel the same way, but it's also we are maybe we're just more focused on looks and stuff like
or
that.
we just
We're more
don't talk,
shallow.
or we just as young boys didn't talk about it with females at all.
We didn't, and also we didn't really consider it a
That
problem.
could also
maybe.
be the case.
There's also a stigma around girls that they shouldn't be looking at that stuff. They should act ladylike, and they can't want to have sex. Like there was a huge
But then
issue.
men want the pornography all the time still.
Well, because men are taught it's okay to want sex and to like, right? If a guy goes, dude, I slept with 10 girls last week, everyone's gonna be like, yo, fuck yeah, dude, stereotypically speaking. If a girl says that, it's like, oh my God, you hoe. You slept with 10 dudes? Like, ugh. That stigma is also similar to the porn thing where it's like, ooh, that's dirty. That's gross. Like I've met girls who would be embarrassed. Like I would joke like, oh, you're watching porn? Like, oh my God, no, never. It's like, oh
I
my
met some
God.
cool ass. I've met some cool ass people who are down to talk about it. At least
Nowadays,
like, yeah, of course, I check it out.
Nowadays, it's definitely changing. But I'm talking about when we were kids. I think that's part of the reason. Nowadays, I think it's getting better. But that's a huge stigma, especially when we went to a Catholic school where it's very frowned upon in general. That girls were definitely not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to be sexualized. They're not supposed to act like that. And that's starting to change now, which I think is great.
Yeah, from my point of view, and it's I'm not necessarily against the porn industry. I'm definitely against
Not
because
against
there's documented abuses that take place, but then there are of course like next levels to it where it's professional productions. Everyone knows what they're getting into. It's like a professional thing.
It's like every industry.
Yeah.
There's bad, awful people, and if we have it more regulated and allowed and legal, we could create the right systems in place.
But for me, just my personal experience as a young man growing up with the internet,
there should be.
It did fuck me up in a lot of ways. I can see it, and it took me a long time to realize that. But it starts to affect your ability to be in a relationship. Sometimes it starts to affect your ability to want to pursue other people. And it's crazy how difficult. I've had much easier time throughout the course of my life giving up other vices than I have that specific one, which is very interesting to me. I think about it frequently. It
was the hardest one for me to give up, for sure.
It's so difficult.
I had an easier time stopping smoking tobacco than that, or vapes or whatever, right? Nicotine, I guess, than that. And it's because it's so deeply ingrained in us, and it's such a physical.
I discovered it at a young young age.
Younger than we discovered any other drug or anything else.
Way before.
And that's why it's
First
super
vice for
dangerous.
sure.
And you're right. It ruins relationships. I remember at points being like, I'd rather go watch porn than have sex with my girlfriend right now.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
I've been there too. I've talked to a lot of guys about that actually.
Because
it happens.
they are.
But that's so dangerous. Why do we let that happen? Do we let it happen or does it just happen?
Well, kids that young should not be watching stuff like that. That's what it is. That's what it is. Like, we need to find a way to have a better age restriction than, are you 18? Yes. Like, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
I've never said no to that my entire life.
Nope.
So
even me, the fool who's trying to be honest, worried I'd get caught, I'd be like, that's not real. Nope. Yes, I am 18 for sure. Let me see this now, please.
Yeah, let me see the titties. Come on.
On the PSP, connected to the Wi-Fi. Used to connect my PSP. I thought that it
was like more hidden.
12-year-old brain. I think this might make my family laugh if they listen to this episode all the way through here to this point, which I think they will. I used to, maybe not, it would probably gross my mom out, but I used to have the PSP, right? And and the iPod Touch, but I was worried that if I connected it to my downstairs Wi-Fi, my parents would see it. Yeah, and it would see it. So I would connect to my uncle who lived upstairs Wi-Fi because I was like, if he sees it, he'll probably just mention it to me or keep it on the down low and won't know. But it's not like I was a dumbass kid that wasn't good. They knew what was transpiring. But it
shows the lengths we went to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the craziest shit to just be able to watch porn and stuff is insane.
It's nuts. And it was so easy to get.
It's so easy.
It was so easy.
But like
still is. But as a kid, as a child, it was so easy.
But it's very dangerous because you keep wanting to push it harder. Like any addiction, you want to go crazier and more and more and more. And then you watch this crazy porn with 20 girls in it. And then your one girlfriend's not enough because that ain't shit.
Yeah.
She doesn't look like her. And there's not 19 more of them. Yeah. And so you become dissatisfied with reality, because it will never be as good as those films. So
should it stay or should, because we both just said we're supporters of the legitimate industry where
it
it's
shouldn't
not
be
super
for
abusive.
kids.
Yeah, but how do you verify that someone's not
I don't
18?
know.
How do you prevent children from seeing it?
That's one of the hardest things. Age restrictions on the internet.
Because they all know about it.
Things.
They all know about it.
Yep.
And once you get to a certain age, you're gonna want to peep it. You're gonna want to check it out.
It's really tough. I want to say it's education, but I don't even know that would work.
Maybe that's the idea. Then maybe we need to start being more comfortable teaching children about sex, because otherwise they're just. And this is not my own idea. I've actually heard this before. Now that I'm saying it out loud,
yeah.
but it does. Pornography becomes sex ed in a weird way. It was mine.
It was mine.
I watched a video when I was 11 to 13 years old. I won't be so specific.
Sure.
I'm not sure, but I was young. There were 3 different porn stars in it that were like famous porn stars. One of them being Ron Jeremy, and the fucking video was titled "How to Eat Pussy Like a Champ."
Yeah, I think
that was my sex ed. That was my education. I was like, oh, yep, okay, so
videos like that.
This is what I have to do. All right, okay, notes taken, taking notes, taking notes.
I have an interesting theory on this because I felt the same way.
Yeah.
And then I remember talking to girls because I have a lot of friends.
Shouldn't you just be more comfortable asking the girl the first time around?
Yes, right? Because and you also find out that every girl, it's not, one thing works for everyone as well. Every girl is different. Guys, it's a bit easier. You
also,
know what works.
Again, we know this is a limited scope. We're talking entirely from our perspective.
Yeah,
for
this is what we went through. So yeah, like you think this is what sex is supposed to look like and blah, blah, blah. And that's also movies and film. It's kind of the next evolution. This is what romance and relationships are like. Now this is what sex is supposed to look like. And then you fuck that up. It's the reason why people who come from broken homes don't know how to have a good relationship, because they don't have a model to see. They don't have a good example. Yeah. We never had a good example of what intimacy and sex is like. So we're bad at it pretty much because of that. And then you have to reteach yourself essentially. But now, let me hit you with this. Now that it's becoming more common and more popular amongst everyone to watch porn, will it just become the meta? Will it just become that's actually...
That would be a horrible meta.
Does the life now imitate the art? Is what I'm saying, right? Before it was the other way around and they pushed to the extreme, but now stuff that was quote unquote weird, bad connotation before is now in. Stuff like foot fetishes or like choking is like super common and talked about.
Butt stuff is
butt
super
stuff.
common to talk about
like,
now.
dude,
That was like they used to call it sodomy.
Yes.
After the
It's in
city
the
of
Bible.
Sodom,
Yeah.
where you don't do that, and now it's like, Grandpa, you don't eat ass.
Yes,
what are you
I was
talking
just about to say that's like everyone eats ass. God,
That's what we do.
yo.
There was a group of friends that I had in college where the thing was when we would hang out, it's like, oh yeah, we all eat ass. Yeah, you eat ass. All right, we eat ass.
We eat ass. It's true though. Like if anyone told me they don't eat ass, I'm like, dude, why don't you eat ass?
Yeah,
Like,
you know, try it. You know,
what? You got a problem? Like,
There are hygienic ways.
but dude, so is it flipping? Is life now imitating the art?
I don't know, because
I think it is.
Is that because of pornography, and pornography was pushing certain things?
No one was
and
calling
now-
anyone daddy or stepbro till fucking 5 years ago.
That's a whole insane movement.
Dude, there is some the most insane porn categories, and the worst part is I know they do it off the most data analytics driven. They literally know where your eyes go to as you scroll through, and that shit.
What if they misread it though? Because
No, they don't.
Usually
No, they don't.
really,
Dude, that's their job. So everything you see that's a more expansive category is because of the data. They're not guessing that people like stepbrother porn. They know that will get more clicks.
that's nuts,
Right? There's some crazy ones like the stuck porn. Have you seen stuck porn?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I've heard of stuck porn.
There's some really funny like memes.
That's
about
one that
stuck
I've
porn.
actually never delved into. I've never
There's just
seen
one
the point.
It's just like people just like pretending to get stuck everywhere, just like because in the videos they're not actually stuck, obviously.
Yeah.
So someone will just be like sitting in their chair, like, "Oh, I'm stuck. Oh no, what am I gonna do?" It's like you're just sitting there. It's like, "No, I'm stuck. You have to get me out with your penis, please." It's like, what?
Also, just like the whole
But
stuck concept, I'm not even trying to be out of pocket, actually trying to call attention to it.
Yeah.
Not joking at all. It sounds really rapey. Like
Yes.
it does not sound
It's not okay.
So there's actually a lot of conversations about that too.
And
where
the same thing with the incest porn essentially is also pretty not okay. Like,
do you think that this excessive rise of porn's accessibility? I mean, of course, porn's been around forever, but in terms of what we understand as human history, it's never been as accessible and as rapid.
It's
and
revolution. It's revolution.
It's crazy how much it goes. So do you think that... Well, I don't know, because I don't know what the historical numbers would be, but do you think that maybe men who, and maybe some women, and again, anything else, do you think that some of them are more attracted to the concept of forced sexual relations because of pornography?
Yes.
And it's contributed to that.
Any trend you see in porn, it's a cycle. Like I was saying, the art imitate life thing.
Yeah.
It's constantly going back and forth.
Yeah.
So people were doing it, then it became porn. More people saw it, the porn, more people did it. And then it just keeps cycling back in this loop. And so it is perpetuating a lot of these bad things to these little kids.
Yeah.
So if you're like a 14-year-old watching porn now, we didn't have stepbro porn when we were 14, maybe a little bit, but it wasn't the thing, right?
Yeah.
Now you could not miss it.
You know what else is interesting too about that conversation? It also kind of leads to the demand of sex that I see in a lot of men.
Yes, the assumption that
it's going to be instant. It's a given because
it's like the incel thing
most
as well.
pornography videos are set up. The dude does no work at all. It's just like all of a sudden, oh, my dick's being sucked.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's how it works. All I had to do was say two things and insult her, and now this is happening. Now this dope ass shit is happening, and that's what you have to do. And when that doesn't work, it creates this angry reaction in a lot of young men.
The whole culture, as well. That's like the incel culture as well, where it's like, I hate women because they should treat me like this. I should be. Yeah. It's like it's a right. I have a right to have sex, and it's like, no.
What a fucking gnarly group of people.
Yeah.
What a crazy.
What a sad.
Very, very sad. Very. Jesus
and scary,
Christ.
though, as well.
Super scary.
I just think it's like this culture is really dangerous, and it just perpetuates this cycle, and it goes that way.
But it's not just pornography. It's the Hollywood shit too.
It goes a million. You're totally right. It goes a million different ways. It's just the whole concept of that media is now telling us how we should act,
how to
in
have
our
sex, how to fall in love, how to
have a family, how to make
fucking
friends.
Christ, are we just doomed? Are we just?
Well, if you stop consuming it and then you realize what
How do
really
you preach
matters,
to people to stop consuming it?
I don't know. Go actually talk to someone.
Yeah.
Talk to a real person. The issue is,
Doesn't the person have to recognize that it's unhealthy for them, though, which is
Yeah.
hard to do? Because
first
at a
part.
certain point, you start thinking that that's your thought on the world.
yes, totally.
And it's hard to break out of a perception that you
Yeah.
feel is your own.
This is a little bit of a pivot, but something I think about a lot is, why do I have the opinions that I have? Why do I
Every
think
book I've read, every person I've talked to, every mentor I've had,
Totally.
my parents, my friends,
and this almost gets like in your own head, but then it's like, so then it's not my own thought. Is it?
ever, probably
Right?
not, no.
I saw some shoes the other day and I was like, those shoes are disgusting. But my friend bought them and wore them. So obviously he thinks they're cool. Why does he think they're cool and I think they're disgusting?
Mm-hmm.
Is it completely... It doesn't make any sense,
It's a good thing with music, too.
Yes.
Why do we appreciate certain sounds and not others? And
right? There is
with
some
food,
natural
certain
stuff.
tastes, and
Apparently the only thing that people can taste is like salt, is like the one true flavor. That's like the only thing that like the human brain naturally is like, yes, good, need. Like pretty much.
other than that, you can dislike pretty much everything else.
It's just like that's the one thing
That's kind of a fun
human
fact. That
nature-
sounds like a Snapple fact.
I think it's salt and one other thing.
Uh-huh.
It's like salt and something else. And it's because like our human body's like, you need this. That's like, there's a disease, if you're malnourished, you start like licking rocks and stuff.
Oh, fuck.
Because you need salt and like iron and nutrients. And like your body just tells you
Lick
you can get it
rocks?
from rocks. Yeah, you can.
That's so funny. We used
Right?
to tell people, not you, me, my college friends, it'd be like if we were kind of joking, like you want them to leave kind of behind your back. You go, kick rocks, dude.
Lick rocks.
But now
is
it's
different.
lick rocks.
Well, it's a real condition that certain kids will have.
That's
That-
crazy.
Yeah. Because they're malnourished and they just need nutrients, and their body's like, you can get that from this and this and this, which is true. You
Yeah.
can go lick the side of a cliff and get some of that. It's just really crazy to me, like what determines our preferences and our opinions and like what we think.
Do any of us really know?
No, because you're right. It's a culmination of everything. How
Uh-huh.
you were raised, your parents. You know, when you're younger,
But then does
it's
your brain
simpler.
create original thoughts based on all that stuff?
Yes.
Is it possible to think organically and originally?
I guess so. Let's put it in a vacuum, right?
It's kind of a scary thought.
You left
Do
a
I
kid,
think for myself?
You left a kid in a room. He's never spoken to anyone. He's never done anything, right? And then you show him 5 paintings.
Uh-huh.
Can he tell you which one's the best painting, or which one is like considered the most expensive, or what's his favorite? He might
could
just pick.
easily tell you what his favorite is, right?
Yes, but is that the one that is considered the best? Like, let's say it's 4 paintings that I drew and a Picasso.
Uh-huh.
Will the kid pick the Picasso? I fucking doubt it.
It's a possibility, but
a
it's
possibility,
unlikely.
but I don't know. Like, we've been told that
He's got a
these
4 out of
kinds
5 chance of
styles-
picking yours and a 1 out of 5 chance of picking Picasso's. So the likeliness is it wouldn't be influenced by anything at all. So it would be
Okay,
random,
Yeah,
right?
that's what
There's
I would
only
think.
20%
That's what I would
chance
think.
that Picasso
But
would be
maybe
picked.
his art is objectively better, and it just appeals to our human nature more.
That's
so,
also true.
and he will have to pick that one because it's so good.
That's very true.
I don't know which it is. I think it's everything
Have
has
there
a
been
little bit.
experiments done? You probably wouldn't know off the top of your head, but
we can't put a kid in a bubble like that. There's
Yeah.
no way to know, right? When you're younger, you have less influences. There's been cases of kids who only knew their parents or something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
so
yeah.
they're a lot like their parents, right? Or kids who went off to
to them,
boarding
that's just
school.
what humans are. That's what humans
Yeah.
do.
And they're almost exact clones kind of their parents because they
Yeah.
spent so much time with their parents. You see that with a lot of kids who just grew up like that. They weren't allowed out the house a lot. All they did is went to school and went home and spent all their time with their family. They're more like their family. There's no like true opinions and stuff anymore. It's very, once you realize that though, you realize like none of it really matters. Kinda. To me though, the best art does 2 things. It is familiar to us, to what we've seen in the past, so we know we like it, but it progresses enough to be innovative and different where it's interesting and new. I think every artist, that's their goal. If it's like they made 3 albums or whatever, the next album should be hold on to a little bit of their original sound that people and their fans like, but twist it enough where it's like, this is different, but still has the same feelings and vibes of the last project, so you know you like it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you liked rock and then you heard a punk band. You're like, oh, I like these parts of it from rock, and these new parts I don't know if I like yet, but they're interesting.
Yeah.
You might be able to make that transition. But if you listen to rock and then you hear a rap song, there's nothing to carry you over in between.
Yeah.
We need something that appeals to like our base and then innovates. And that's what I think most art does.
I think the conversation goes even past art too, because it does apply to everything. Like, what's the easiest way to complete a certain task? There's going to be different ideas as to what's the easiest and what's harder on that type of stuff too.
Oh my God.
So what formulates those opinions? What is that more creative? Because maybe we find ourselves in more creative predicaments sometimes where there's a problem to be solved of some sort, and you have to kind of come up on the fly. Would that be an influence of everything you've ever done, or would that be an on the fly human kind of miracle?
I think it depends on the thing. Let's say you're learning like the best way to wash dishes.
Yeah.
Everyone probably washes dishes differently. The process I use a certain technique to wash out the glass that maybe you don't, or you do it and then you dry each one. I think a lot of that comes from your parents in this case, right? Like your parents taught you how to do this, so you do it like this. I typically pick what I think is the most efficient or objectively the best in my brain. So if I have my technique to wash dishes, it takes 1.5 minutes, and you teach me that your mom can do it in 1 minute and they're just as clean, I'll switch over. But some people
without hesitation.
But some people would go, nah, the way my mom taught me is right. You're wrong. And I've run into that more times than not. I respect that as well. You think it's a better way.
I run into it sometimes when it's less aggressive. They're just, this is just the way I do it.
Totally.
This is what I know.
Exactly. And that's fine too. But to me, it's like we should be wanting to put it together.
For some things, it's good though. Like for cooking techniques and things like that, sticking to the one way. It's, well, this is how we've always done it. It tastes dank every single time. So.
But what if it could taste better?
True.
That's what I'm saying.
You'd have to feel comfortable deviating and creating.
You have to take what you already know and are comfortable with and make a slight innovation so that you keep the core values, but you try something new that pushes it. That's what I'm saying.
Play the game and change the game.
That's the trick. You have to learn all the rules to then be able to break them and move up.
That's some damn good advice.
I think that's what a lot of people, artists or any creators or anything, that's what they try to do.
Yeah.
You have to get, even sports, right? You have to master the sport how the coach teaches you. And then you can get to the NBA and be James Harden and learn this new move that you just invented. You know?
Yeah.
But you have to get there first, and then you can innovate.
One of my favorite TED Talks was Rodney Mullen, professional skateboarder.
Skateboarder, yeah.
Talks about...
Oh, he skates like no one else, too.
Yeah, and he was talking about the importance of being inspired to be creative for peer approval, not for mass approval.
Yes.
For peers within the community. Being original for the sake of the community. He says if you're seeking the respect of your peers within whatever your pursuit is, there's not a lot you can do wrong and you're likely going to be successful. Whereas if you're trying to appeal to
the masses,
a lot of people,
I completely
and you're
agree
going to feel more fulfilled at the end of the day too. Is I think what he was trying to get at in this TED. It's a wonderful TED Talk, and he's incredibly well spoken, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, because you can never make everyone happy.
No way.
You can never appeal to the whole masses. But you can appeal to the people that matter to you. It's kind of like, I always, like you say, like your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. That's the most impressive guy to me.
Yeah.
Because that's who really, they're not trying to do it just for the money or just for the fame. They are like, I want to be the best at this skill, and I'm competing against the other people who do this, right? I want all the other skaters to think I'm the best skater. I want all the other rappers to think I'm the best rapper. Like, that's, to me, the most impressive.
I feel that.
Like, you don't need to do it for everyone. But nowadays, it's changed.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you only can appeal for the masses. It's you can do both, but it's really hard. It's a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, my rec for the week, it's definitely your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. I had a couple songs. Yeah, what's wrong? MF Doom, of course. Rest in peace. That was a shocking event.
That was crazy.
That was
really
something.
sad.
I was
Doom,
really sad about that.
That was the guy I first thought of when you mentioned your favorite rapper's favorite rapper too.
Yeah.
Every rapper that I liked growing up, like I'm so old, They said MF Doom was like their favorite rapper.
Yeah. And I think an underrated project of his, which a couple songs came on shuffle and I listened to again throughout the week, is The Mask and the Mouse, Danger Doom.
Danger Doom. That wasn't on shuffle. That was on purpose. I love that song.
Oh,
Love
that was
album.
on purpose. Well, I listened to it today.
Yeah.
The album. And that would be my rec for the week for sure. Just
Sure.
go check out that because I think it's a horribly underrated album in terms of
I agree.
listening. In terms of
MF Doom,
talking points, no one talks about that as one of the greatest rap albums of all time, but I really think it is.
Well, it's tough because he made Mad Villainy, which
And he
is-
also made Food too.
yeah. But Mad Villainy is to a lot of people the greatest rap
Quintessential.
album ever.
Yeah.
You can't beat that, man. I agree. That's a great rec. I was gonna say the rec was gonna be Innovate or something like that. I forget what we're talking about. Oh, Stop Watching Porn, maybe.
Well, I always try and do a pop
One of
culture
those.
rec and then an advice rec.
You should do pop culture rec, and I should do advice.
Advice with Alex and pop culture
'Cause
with Matt.
I don't really have those as much. But
I like-
normally I can think of a lesson to be taken from our discussion.
Okay. I actually like doing that. I can throw out of left field, hey, here's something you should check out this week
Yeah.
in terms of
We
media
can do
and
both.
consumption.
We can switch. We can,
Yeah.
we'll always agree on them as well. So our pop culture rec is
What would the
Danger Doom.
advice? What would the Danger Doom for sure? Go back, listen to that horribly underrated album.
Yeah.
And
I guess the lesson to take from this, maybe there's not always going to be a lesson, but I guess my
No.
rec would be maybe take some time to think. Don't be so stimulated all the time. Take some time to think about what really makes you happy.
Mhm.
Maybe the art you love or the thing you love to do. Get good at it. Learn to innovate. Learn to make it your own, and just kind of work on being happy. I guess that's pretty vague, but
super
whatever.
vague. But
Also,
not. I think the recommendation of getting those stimulants out of the way, and
good
also maybe influences, so you're not so consumed with finding
yeah.
your Hollywood babe or your Prince Charming.
Yeah, start to-
not having such a perfect idea of how life is supposed to play out.
Exactly. Not find what makes you happy, but find what truly appeals to you, what kind of people appeal to you, what kind of anything appeals to you. And then you'll actually find what you really want. Like, oh, I actually hate this job. Oh, I actually don't like this girl.
Yeah.
And then you'll actually start to find what you're really looking for.
Yeah.
And maybe you're really into something you would have never thought, which would be exciting.
Yeah.
I got to do that too. That's a rec for me. I got to do that.
I agree. I think I could use a
Yeah.
little bit of that myself as well.
And stop watching porn.
Definitely.
That's
Definitely got to stop that shit.
All right. That's it.
I think that's been it for now.
Yeah, thank you guys. This is kind of a weird one, but we just got back from our little vacay. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to have new episodes, obviously, every Sunday. I want to get some more feedback. So if you made it this far in the podcast,
You're a real one.
you're a real one. I want you to comment on Instagram. We'll see it. We'll get to it. I want to have some discourse. What did you disagree with? I know people have fact-checked me on other episodes. Joe Ratto was telling me, a great friend of mine, that I said, like, they eat KFC in China on Christmas. Apparently it's Japan. So and I want people to come at me. I loved it. I was like, yes, bro.
I
So,
was wrong.
yeah, let us know what you think, what we disagree with, and then I'd love to be able to like work on these, because as you see, we're thinking about these things right now live, so we want to continue the conversation. So I want to get some feedback. If you're a real one, you made it this far, show us and fucking let us know.
I think
So we'll see you guys next time, and this has been the Career Podcasters.
Peace.